Welcome, Bill, to Metallidium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Wretched, this upcoming album, DK, and more things related to the metal war in general. So we started by asking, how are you doing today, and how is the band during the last during the last couple 9 years? No, 11 years, because your previous album was released 11 years ago.
Today I'm doing pretty solid, man. I'm very happy to be here speaking with you about all things Wretched and all things metal and anything else in general that you want to talk about, man. Um, over the course of the last 11 years, I would say, Wretched put out Cannibal with Adam Cody on vocals, and they did some serious work for that album. They did some good touring, but along the lines, everything just kind of like dwindled and
Mhm.
stopped. They did play a few shows here and there, which I was lucky enough to attend and even jump on stage and do a couple songs like Fetal Consumption and Preservation of Immortality, just to help Adam and the guys out and, just get my feel for, what I was missing on the stage. And, enough time had gone by. And, I think around 2017, 2018, they started to tease that they were going to be putting out a new album,
Okay.
which they did begin writing for. But nothing really ever came to fruition from it. Um, so I kept up with Steven pretty well
Okay.
over the past several years, and he and I just, I would go to shows that his other band was playing at, and I would just kind of drop in his ear, man. It's just be like, hey, man, if you want to get things started again, and Adam doesn't want to be the front man anymore, I am more than willing to step back in, or just come in and do some guest vocals and whatnot. And then it wasn't much later in May of 2022 where Steven's sending me this nice long paragraph of a text message being like, hey, so these are the plans. This is what we want to do. Are you down? You would be coming back in as a full-time vocalist, but just think about it. Don't answer right away. Just let me know when you can and when you feel comfortable doing so. And so, me being me, living in the moment, I just immediately responded back, and I was just like, "Hell yeah, man, let's do this." So we started working on some stuff. Stephen finally, by the end of the year, got me a demo for um, what is now the 10th track on the new album,
Okay.
called The Golden Tide. And then after that, I got what is now known as track 11 on the album, Blackout. And then I just kept progressively getting more and more and writing to that. And yeah, it's pretty much up to speed. Yeah, not a whole lot happened in those 11 years besides all of us just kind of living our lives and,
Hmm.
growing as human beings.
Okay. Interesting. And so, when this kind of point, so when do you start to write the songs exactly for this new album? Because 11 years, perhaps the pandemic had like a great motivation because in the pandemic, a lot of people has more free time for work at home, or everything is closed now. At that moment, it was
Yeah.
closed.
Um, I don't know if I mean, the pandemic may have been like a push in the right direction.
Mhm.
Um, just because, like shortly after that, we did see a resurgence in so many other bands. And, I knew that I wasn't done. I knew that I missed it a lot. Um, from, after I left at the end of 2010, I was pretty pleased with my decision. But as time went on, I was just like, damn, I really miss it up there. I miss, being on tour. I miss hitting a different city every day and meeting brand new people and just being on the stage and just enjoying myself, which I feel is very evident with my stage presence now versus what it was back then.
Okay.
Back then, I felt like I had a little more, like, I was a little more serious, which I mean, I still am serious up there. And, in my writing and stuff like that. But I feel like when it comes to the live performance, it's very evident that we're just having a lot more fun now, because it's really our passion. It's what we really want to do. It's what we do, and it's the only thing that, yeah, makes sense.
Oh, okay. So now, well, this is your this is your fifth album in your career. So how many things change? Because 11 years obviously is 11 years. It's not like 1 to 3
Yeah.
years. You're like the same person some ways. But the band started in 2005, in 2005. Now we have 20 years of existence of the band. You have five albums. So like we like to say like 10 years each album. So like something like that. So and or 5 year, 5 years each album. So, and this one, how many things changed since you started, since the band started in 2005, and now we are 25 years ago.
Well, I mean, in 2005, Wretched was under a different moniker called And Since Forgotten. At that point in time, I was in a band called Chime from Charlotte, North Carolina. Um, and, they just, uh, as soon as Black Dahlia's Nocturnal came out, that's when I was just like, man, I really want to be in a band like this fast paced melodic death metal. And then they were looking for a vocalist, so I just tried out, and everything just kind of landed where it did and worked out. Um, but I mean, that first album was very melodic death metal. And there was obviously a little bit of tech work in there. And then Beyond the Gate came out. I feel that was a little more straightforward technical death metal, and more aggressive on that front. When Son of Perdition came out, which I was not a part of, so I can't speak to the writing process or anything like that, that was a bit more of a drastic change in a different direction. Still, the Wretched sound, musically. And same thing with Cannibal. They just became like heavier and heavier as time went on, and much more aggressive and intense. But up to now, like I said earlier, the past 11 years, it was a bunch of like self-reflection, a lot of personal growth, just taking a step back and realizing we didn't really have to do, like, when we came down to start writing this new album. Steven's approach was very much like, we don't have to put out the same thing again. Which, I mean, this new album is still very Wretched. No pun intended, or pun intended. Yes. I don't know. But we definitely set out to do something a little bit different than we've done in the past, and I do feel that we've achieved that. And I can, for one, say that I'm incredibly proud of this album, more so than I am the past two that I was on. I
Mm.
just know my writing got a lot stronger. My vocals somehow changed a bit, and I feel got even better over the past like 15 years since I've done vocals with a band. So yeah, I think the time off was absolutely necessary for us to be where we're at today. And I don't think that without that time off, things would not be the way that they are now, which I'm very happy with. So
Mm.
hopefully everybody else is too.
Okay, okay, I understand, I understand. So, well, the band started with this name, Wretched. But now, there's when I take a look at this information, Wretched, there is like for example, there's like more 5 or 6 bands with the same name. So, in this kind of situation, how do you avoid, for example, Wretched to mention the other bands? Because obviously, when you try to find more info about the band, more bands appears with this name. I saw that, and Curious Teen, mostly all bands appears like from US. Curious Teen, I cannot see another band from the other side would work with that name. So, in this kind of situation, how do you avoid in this one to not mention another band when you have the same name?
I honestly, I don't know if we necessarily think about it. I know that when the name was brought up, and I was told that that was going to be the name of the band that I was entering, um, I didn't even think about it. I didn't think about any other bands or anything like that. Um, I wasn't really at that point even aware, because this was somewhere back in like 2007, 2008. And the internet wasn't what it is today. So, finding information on stuff, it was relatively easy, but it was not as simple as it is now. Um, but yeah, I don't think we really even try to, think about anything like that. I mean, it is a little frustrating, because when we're trying to promote something, you'll get bands with Wretched in their name, if it's not just specifically Wretched. I know that there's the Italian
Mhm.
punk band Wretched, which is the main one that comes to mind for me
Mhm.
now. And but then there's Wretched in song titles, like Nine Inch Nails has, done a track with that word in their titles. I know a multitude of other bands have done the same thing. So you type in Wretched music on Google, and you're definitely going to get hit with a plethora of other things that aren't us. But I feel like I guess the best thing about it right now for us is that we have a new album out. It's being marketed pretty well, and if you type in Wretched music, now the first thing is that's going to pop up is something about us. So that's that's pretty cool.
Okay, okay, okay. So now, well, since the beginning, if we spoke about this, your fifth albums, so you're still since the beginning you work at the Victory Records, then you
Mhm.
second one work with Victory Records. Mostly all albums working with Victory Records, and just this the guy started. So just this the guy started to work Metal Blade Records, one of the biggest labels in the world. So how
Mhm.
it was the transition, for example, with Victory Records, because Victor Records like a small label compared to the Metal Blade Records, more big, is bigger than them. So how it was the transition to work the first with Victory Records and now with one of the biggest labels, Metal Blade.
Victory Records was pretty tricky, honestly, starting out, and even I would say, like I said, I can't attest to the last couple albums where Adam Cody was vocalist and I was not in the band. But with my tenure within the band, um, it was tricky because there weren't any bands really like us on that label. So I think that they had a really tough time pairing us up with bands to tour with. Um, like if they wanted to do a victory only band tour, it was pretty tough. I know that around the same time though, they did induct Within the Ruins. So like one of our first US tours was with them, which was awesome. They're a killer bunch of guys. They're super, super sick guys. Um, but yeah, I think like when it comes to us now being on Metal Blade, I think things are a lot simpler in that aspect. Victory definitely got us higher than we would have been able to get on our own. So that's incredible of them. They helped us put out several music videos. I mean, they helped us get out 4 albums across the globe. Um, and without them, we would not be where we're at today either. They definitely got the name out there as much as it did, and we're forever going to be grateful for that. Metal Blade has been a really cool experience so far. They've pretty much given us all the time in the world to construct and fabricate this new album, and it's really helped Steven, I would say, and Marshall and Andrew, get their parts as perfect as they want them to be. And then for me, as the lyricist and vocalist, storyteller, if you will, it's really given me an opportunity to, take my time with it as well. Because on Exodus of Autonomy and Beyond the Gate, I can listen back now, like even after we finished recording and the album was out, I was just like, I really wish I would have changed that. I don't like that part. I wish I could redo that. But at that point, tough shit. You can't really, pardon my language. But um, yeah, with this new album, we had a lot of opportunity to make it exactly what we wanted it to be. So I mean, I may listen to this one and be like, oh, that's one thing that I wish I could have done different. But it's few and far between, the mistakes that we made personally on this album, because we did have so much time to perfect it to our own personal desires, and hit that enjoyment bell that we wanted to hit.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Interesting, interesting. Now, so that's well, I remember when I hear your first band, I remember your ways. I listened your first, your second record, Beyond the Gate, because I listened that band at that moment, so like 15 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you all the time, you said it, you try to play like something deathcore, something melodic, something like that. But usually, and then when I try to reach more information about them, then I hear the first album, the second one, the next upcoming, and now this new. Also, you are like lean down for this technical stuff in some ways. That's completely normal because you are get better musicians during the old times since you started the band. So now, how do you see this change into the in your music now? You are trying to approach to this technical stuff, and do you still consider it like something at the beginning that you play something deathcore with melodic stuff, and now you're more focusing in technical death metal stuff?
I'd say that the new approach for this new album is just more of an approach to, less notes because there is value in every single note. And, just make something that's comprehensible to even somebody that doesn't like death metal. And I feel like we've achieved that in a way. I mean, only time will tell to see if, we can, gain some followers from the side of musical genres that are not death metal or technical death metal or even metal for that matter. I mean, just look at what Gojira did at the Olympic ceremony. That put death metal and metal in the face of people that probably had never really heard of it before. Maybe heard of it, but not heard it. So, I mean, I think our approach with this album is just to go a little more back on the aggressiveness. I mean, it's still an aggressive album, as I'm sure you know, but there's a difference to it in the sense of that we want it to be more attainable to those who normally wouldn't enjoy that type of music. There's a lot of different emotion in this album. Like there's sadness, there's joy, there's just you name it, man. There's something to touch on every single emotion that a human being could feel. So coming out of this, I feel a lot of people are going to have a very confused reaction as they're not going to know really how that they should feel. Which again was another goal of ours with this album, to just put something out there that was different from what other people have heard, and not really be able to classify it as simply as saying, oh, this is technical death metal, oh, this is just straight up death metal, this is metal, this is pop, blah blah blah. You know how it is.
Mm. Yeah. So in this topic, so if we are talking about for this situation about the technicality in the world, as you can see, there's now a lot of people playing fast, playing so technical. There's more technical musician not compared to the 80s or the 90s, especially
Yeah,
in
for
the
sure.
90s, in the 80s or 90s. So, but now with this technicality, the extreme metal is more cleanness, like the compared with the old days. It's now the metal is like the more clean than the heavy or thrash metal on these topics. The death metal or the black metal in general, the extreme metal are more clean than the other styles in the metal. So in this
Yeah.
kind of case, what kind of opinion do you have for this cleanness into the extreme metal nowadays? And we don't have this option, for example, for the rawness or like more organic stuff, because mostly all musicians tries to edit a lot of things in the studio.
Yeah, I like the clarity. I like the clean sounds that come from a lot of the metal nowadays. Um, and I mean, I'm not to talk any ill on anything. There's a lot of it that does kind of seem like it's over processed, and like they've lost the human element in the construction and the performance of the music on the album, which is another thing that we kind of wanted to do with this. And we wanted it to sound perfect. We wanted the clarity in there. We definitely wanted um, enunciations with the vocals to be more prevalent. Um, but we also intentionally left in some mistakes, or some just like weird scratches and stuff like that. Maybe Steven sliding his finger up the strings. We requested that stuff, some of that stuff, stay in there just to add that human element to it, just so we could kind of step away from that production aspect of it. you know, a lot of like you said, you know, a lot of the metal nowadays is it does have that cleanness to it, which is it's in itself. I mean, maybe that's going to create a new genre of music down the line, and this is going to be looked back on as whatever kind of technical death metal. But again, you know, back on the topic of, you know, just kind of trying to step outside of the box, and pull away from the technical death, a little more, just so that we're a little more tolerable, so to speak. Um, yeah, we just I enjoy all facets of music, no matter the production. But with us, we just kind of wanted to maintain the human element with this release.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So now returning to this decay, if I compare everything, every kind of cover art of the album, it's like you started like the with designs. With designs or from artic, but now this art cover art is decay, the name, and also there is like a photo on it, like the
Mhm.
mountains. And why did you decide to change completely the concept of for the previous albums? Because this now is a mountains compared to the other was like more a graphic designs.
Yeah, this one is it's a lot more mixed media. We just kind of wanted to go with something again a little simpler. Like, you know, something that stood out and that, you know, when you looked at, you know, you can see our logo on there and you know it's going to be a heavy like metal or death metal album. But we just wanted to throw something a little different in the works and, you know, just, you know, do a test and see how it was received, you know, see how we felt about it. I know we all really enjoy it. Travis Smith is the artist who worked on the cover and the entire layout for the album. And it took a bit of time for us to get where we wanted to be because, you know, like we had this grand idea of, you know, a mountainscape and, you know, but we didn't want it to look like just a photo of a mountain. So we kept going back and forth with Travis. And then one day he just like pulled a completely different photo. And was just like, how do you guys feel about this one? And that's when we were like, okay, yeah, this is the one. But we still made some alterations to it. So he used a lot of mixed media. There's watercolor in there. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. He tossed in this neat little obelisk that's hiding in there, which is a direct reference to my story that I've provided with the album. Yeah, we just again, yeah, we wanted to take a step away from the norm of what a metal band would put out, you know, with the painted or the drawn covers, and yeah, just kind of like throw everybody a freaking curveball, which I think we're doing with this album in general. So why not just make it a full effect? Yeah, just look at that album cover, and then you're
Okay.
probably not going to hear anything that you expect to off of this album.
Okay.
But you're also
Amazing.
going to hear stuff off the album that you do expect to hear from us.
Mhm.
As like I said, you know, this album is still very wretched, but it definitely does have its differences. Um,
Mhm.
we've stepped a little bit in a different direction. I mean, Clairvoyance, track 6 on the album, right before the instrumental starts, I'm sure you know is a bit different than anything we've done in the past. But again, all stuff we're incredibly proud of. This album sounds freaking huge, and I think it's going to have it's got a long shelf life in my book because I've with having to refer to the everything throughout the mixing and mastering process and just listening to it over and over again. I've already listened to this album over 100 times and I still love it.
Mhm.
So, but I may be
Okay.
biased.
Okay, I understand. I understand about this one. And now let's talk about now the promotion of this new Decay. So what kind of promotion do you have for this Decay? Perhaps you will embark on some more tours, perhaps present more videos. Who knows? What kind of promotion do you have in general? Or perhaps you coming first for the full tour Latin American tour. Who knows?
I mean, that would be sick. I would love to do a Latin American tour. I would love to do European tours, you know, everything. I want to be everywhere across the world. Um, just, you know, meeting new people and enjoying myself and, entertaining people and, having a good time and just partying with, within reason, for sure. But I mean, with promotion, I mean, the marketing is pretty solid on this. We've got a lot of good ads and stuff running. Not ads in the sense of like, you know what I mean. When it comes to touring, though, like we right now are supposed to be on what's today, Wednesday. This is supposed to be day 4 of our full U.S. tour with 6 Feet Under. Unfortunately, that tour got canceled a week and a half before it started, which was a real solid gut punch to all of us. Really left us feeling deflated and, I mean, for lack of a better word, incredibly depressed. Because it's pretty much our livelihood. We've all got not to stress too much on the finances or anything like that, but the biggest thing for me is that we're not going to be on tour when this new album comes out, and it does come out on October 17th, and we should have been on this tour until at least October 25th. So the promotion that we would have gained in that, playing for people that have never seen us before, never even heard of us before, playing for people that have heard of us but have always wanted to see us, but now they can't at this moment. And then other people that have seen us that really wanted to see us again cannot see us anymore. So yeah, it's a disappointment on a lot of different fronts for me. And I think one of the biggest disappointments is disappointing the fans that wanted to see us, and just the upset about not being able to play for new people and, promote the album in the best way that we can, which is touring and, playing a show every single night in front of brand new crowds every single night.
Okay. Amazing.
But
Amazing.
to touch back on that question, because you did ask if there was going to be a promotion, like in the sense of touring,
Okay.
while we are not doing the 6 Feet Under tour any longer, because that has been 86th, we do have some things in the works for 2026 very early on, throughout, the springtime so far. Nothing set in stone that we can announce at the moment, but keep an eye out and you'll be one of the first to know when you see it.
Great. Well, we are very close to this interview, Bill. So then this one. So let's talk about the overwhelming releases on the world, and also one more thing about the AI in the music industry, because now you can see there is for weekends we have 30, 40 releases per weekend. Then one that's for in metal in general, and also that a lot of people are using AI for music, for the cover art, for a lot of things, and also the people are using more technology in the music for the live presentations, because more people is not playing like the with like in the past with amps, with crowd, all this one. Just the people are using plugins, just connect direct to the console or to the board. So that's obviously for the producers like cheaper way, because they don't need to invest more money in a concert. They need to reduce the economic stuff. So what kind of opinion for you this have for this new era of the music industry? Digital stuff, AI, not using amps in live presentations, and obviously you can see a lot of releases with this kind of topic.
Yeah. On the subject of I think AI can be a good tool. Like, I mean, I've also worked in the film industry here in Georgia, and that's been a huge topic of concern in the film industry, and now within the music industry as well. So to see it from the inside point of view, on both sides of the coin. I think it can be utilized as a good tool, maybe a good, like, when it comes to art for an album cover. I mean, there are things out there that you can look at and see immediately, okay, yeah, that was done with artificial intelligence. Bless you. And, but then there's other stuff that, like that's cool and all, but don't. Like, if you're gonna do that, like if you want AI, just use AI to maybe draw up an example of what you want to do, and then draw it yourself. And or if you can't, unfortunately, I mean, sometimes you gotta everybody's out here to make money.
Mhm.
The artists, you gotta fucking pay for what you really want, and something that's gonna make a difference, um, and support somebody. Like there's like if I mean, from my standpoint, as a music connoisseur, or just somebody who just enjoys entertainment in general, if I
Mhm.
see AI being used, that's going to be an automatic turnoff, and I don't really want to deal with this, or not so much as deal with it. I entertain it. So I think it's if people are using it in a way to cut corners, I don't really think that that's going to work out the best. Personally, I mean, who the hell knows? The that the future is the world itself is a very crazy place, and it feels sometimes like we are living in science fiction. So yeah, I'm sure I'll eat my words one day. Um, when it comes to live performance stuff, I don't necessarily see a huge issue just playing straight out of a console. Um, but I mean, we do definitely use cabs on stage. I mean, stuff is obviously going to come directly out of, a pedal board or something like that sometimes, but, we definitely got our cabs up on stage. The aesthetic is awesome. It looks killer. It makes everything just look better and sound better. So I don't understand why cutting corners on that, because that again is taking out the human element. Even though you're still running through a machine, just you're taking away from the crowd's experience, and you're taking away from how awesome your output could actually sound.
Okay, okay, amazing, Bill. So we arrived to the sad moment, Bill. It was
Sad
a
moment.
tremendous pleasure to have you in this interview. Thank
Yeah,
congratulations on this Decade. It's a great album for the
thank you.
band, and obviously so. And for this, perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans that expect someday to came here, to down here to let for a full tour? Who knows? Or and Metallica followers.
Well, I can say that I have been to uh, the Latin American side of things once when I was a very small infant, which I don't remember. So I am 100% looking forward to having a tour put together to where we can, come down there, hang out with everybody, just have a good time, and just you entertain us out in the crowd while we entertain you up on stage, and it'll be a killer time. Like I said earlier, DK does come out on October 17th. So make sure to, when it hits midnight, stick on your headphones, turn up the volume, get your ears, eyes, and minds ready, because there's a lot of lyrical content with this one, and a lot of story content that goes along with it as well. So buy the physical media. Otherwise, you're not going to get the full story from this crazy brain.
Great. Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Bill, so well, we are in the middle of the week, so have a wonderful rest of the week, man. Take care a lot.
Hey, you too. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye bye.
Later.